Hi everybody, this is Alex at Blade Sports. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to do a DIY video of our entire turbo kit. So we have our championship white S2000 Type R inspired AP1 here. And since everything in the Honda era right now is going turbo, Civic Type R, even the Accord has turbo, the Civic Sport, they're all turbo now. We're gonna give our old friend here an update and be turbo as well. Now, a lot of people are saying, why don't you do the Civic Type R motor and the S2000? That way it's a real Type R, yada, yada, yada. Well, the biggest difference in my opinion is the S2000 motor is beyond a Type R motor. Everything in the Type R motor is weaker, in my opinion, than what the S2000 motor. The F20C, the F22C, those have so much better parts than what was even given in during the K-Series Type R. So all the way down to the camshafts. The AP1 camshafts were more powerful than the K20 Type R camshafts, and I proved that in a previous video. But long story short is, this is a DIY of all of our parts here. We have our GT35 turbo with a T4 flange, ball bearing, as you can see. All of our piping is ceramic coated bronze. All our exhaust piping is ceramic coated bronze, while our intake piping is all ceramic coated black. This is a really cool feature. What we have is instead of tapping into the oil pan, is what a lot of people do, or I'm sorry, the girdle. This is the girdle for the main caps. A lot of people tap into here and put an AN fitting there, and so that way you can get the oil return. I don't really like that much, because one, this has to go with the block for life, so you're basically making a hole in your block. That's not too cool for me. So what we like to do is we take out the timing cover, this front timing cover here. We replace that with a refurbished timing cover that we pre-weld an AN10 fitting, so that way we can have our oil return. So that's a really clean way for us to plumb the turbo kit. Here's our exhaust manifold. Ceramic coated bronze. We have our turbo blanket here. We also include a turbo guard, and then we have our Turbo Smart wastegate and blow-off valve, and then of course our intercooler. The rest of it's just basically miscellaneous couplers and so on and so forth. Our kit does not come with any fuel system, so injectors and fuel pump will have to be added. That's a separate expense, but that's pretty normal. So anyways, we're gonna get started and start taking apart this car and do a step-by-step DIY. Okay, for starters, we're just gonna start taking apart this car. I'm gonna take the intake off. Of course, we've already pre-existingly took off all the bolts, so you're just gonna take off the intake. Then you're gonna remove your exhaust manifold. So of course, take off all the nuts, all the connections at the bottom, and then remove your exhaust manifold. Alright. If you're wondering why the motor is wobbling so much, first step, to be honest, what you should do is change the clutch. Before you do anything boost, you should change the clutch. And we're kind of dead smack in the middle of changing the clutch. But for the film's sake, we're just basically going to start putting on some parts while we're waiting to get our clutch back. Next, we want to remove the bumper, because the first thing we're going to start doing is setting up our intercooler installation. There you go. Remove our plastic. Easy peasy. So first we're going to be installing our intercooler, and our intercooler has mounting brackets for an S2000 specifically. We have a mounting bracket here, and that goes right on the side here, just like that. You can see it right there. I'll go ahead and install that. Show you this mounting bracket goes on the top here. Goes on the top of radiator support. Whoops. Okay. Thank you. So we went ahead and mounted our brackets here. These are basically just flat stock, and then we have the bracket here that's kind of loosely mounted, and then we're going to go ahead and stick it right into the radiator. In front of the radiator. You see that bar connects up to our mounting bracket right there. Let me hold this side. So right now we just let everything sit loose, and then we'll tighten everything up as it goes along here. So these are our brackets underneath. They're elongated holes, so you can easily mount to the radiator support right here. So again, we just do everything hand tight, and then we'll tighten it all down afterwards. But that's the beginning of it. Intercooler's practically mounted. We'll just tighten everything down in a minute. So, as I was saying, you definitely want to pull the transmission out and do a clutch job beforehand. We're waiting for our clutch to come back right now from our manufacturer, but this is the trans, and we'll show a DIY on how to do a clutch job sometime later, but right now we're focused on the turbo. Now with the car back up, we want to remove the oil pan. There's going to be a lot of silicone on here, so it's actually going to be pretty tough. We actually pry it off with a pry bar after all the bolts are out, and then once it breaks apart, then we pull it off, and then you're going to want to clean off all this silicone surface. For the clutch, we're going with our Blade Sports twin disc. This should be good enough for a handle 700 horsepower, and on this turbo kit, we're probably going to be pushing around 400, 450. So we got this clutch will handle plenty that we're gonna throw at it. Best part about this clutch, we can use a stock flywheel. This is our Blade Sports flywheel, but you can use a stock flywheel and a stock throttle bearing. No other twin disc exists for the S2000 right that I know of that uses both stock flywheel type and throttle bearing. Now we got our transmission back in. We can get back to just doing the turbo kit installation. So, unbolting our front timing cover, you gotta take off the pulley. We're gonna show you how to do that. It's not very easy, so you're gonna need some breaker bars and impact guns. This bolt usually is pre-seized on there and very difficult to get taken off. We do have a Honda tool specific that is a hex tool, but for today, we have a much better tool that we use. It has a lot of weight to it. There's a socket that's meant for crank pulleys, and then we use the air gun. And this one, what markings are in here? What brand is this?
Snap-on.
Snap-on. Okay, well, we buy this from the Snap-on truck, but you can probably look this up. It is a weighted 19 millimeter deep socket or long socket. Okay, so we're going to show you how we take it off with the air gun. Wait, there we go. Go ahead. Wow, that was a lot. That's a lot of torque to take that off. Now, I'm also going to show you the method with if you don't have this tool to take off the crank pulley bolt. So now we're going to show you the comparison of the another conventional method to remove the crank pulley. All Honda crank pulleys have this hexagon shape right there. You can see that, and this is also a specialty tool. I think I got this from Snap-on as well, but I'm for sure you can find this kind of tool online. Here is some markings right there. There's a part number right there if you need it. Okay, so what this does is it allows you to stop the crank pulley from turning. So it goes in right here. So for demonstrational purposes, we put the bolt right back in, but it's not tight. And then you line up this hexagon tool right here. Then you'll have a breaker bar, which you stick into there. This is not the correct angle, but you're gonna get the idea where you can use this to stop the pulley from turning. Then we get a socket. You'll want at least a 1/2-inch socket, but again, for demonstrational purposes, we're just using a 3/8. But yeah, so you're gonna want a 19 millimeter socket to go inside of that, and essentially, you look how we're gonna be able to turn while this is holding still. But again, this is kind of a not accurate setup that we just demonstrated just so you can get an idea. Because one, you're not going to use a 3/8 19 millimeter socket. You're going to use a 1/2-inch because it will have a lot of force and a lot of torque. Usually, when we set this up, it'll be put on like that, and then it'll be put into the pulley like this. And since you're going to be turning counterclockwise, a lot of times we'll use the leverage of the end of the chassis right here, but you got to be real careful because you're going to end up scratching a lot of stuff here. So I padded up with a bunch of towels right here, and then you have a huge ratchet and breaker bar going this way to break the bolt. And once the bolt's broken, then you can use your air gun to zap it right off. Once you remove your bolt, you're going to remove the belt. Now you're going to want to be careful because there is a keyway that is in the crank pulley. So you want to be careful not to drop that and lose it. You see that little keyway right there? Don't lose that. Next, we're going to want to take off all these pulleys, the water pump pulley, the serpentine belt pulley, and then the idler pulley. Pretty easy. We'll use an electric impact. This one, you want to be careful. This one's reverse thread, so do not normally go on the tighten side. You want to reverse thread. I'm going to tighten this, go righty-tighty on this one because it's reverse thread. That'll loosen it. That's our water pump, by the way. Then, now you just take off all the bolts connecting to the timing cover, along with the crank pulley sensor. So next, you want to disconnect your coolant line, the hard line, to the oil cooler. The reason why we need to take that and remove that is to gain access to be able to take our wire sensor, our crank sensor wire off. So now we're back up on the lift and we're gonna pop this timing cover off. Now it's sealed by silicone, so it's gonna be a little bit difficult, but with a pry bar, you can just pop it right off. back at the top. A little messy, but job's done. Oof, this oil has not been changed in a while. Hopefully your guys' engine doesn't look like mine. It's all stained from oil. Now that we have our timing cover out, we're going to be replacing it with our new timing cover that has the pre-welded AN fitting for our oil return. So you're going to want to silicone the area all around the surface, all around there, and at the bottom for where it meets the oil pan, along with the top right here is where it's going to meet the cylinder head. You're going to want to silicone all of that, along with put your gasket on here.
Right here.
Yep, silicone right there as well. Be very generous with the silicone. Don't skimp out on it because you don't want to have an oil leak. Okay, now we have our timing cover back on the front. You see how we have lots of silicone everywhere. And okay, now you see we have our oil pan back on. Same thing, silicone everywhere. Make sure you have lots of silicone. Next, we're going to want to take out our fuel system. First, start with the injectors. Pull the rail off. We're going to continue to use our stock rail because this is good enough for us as of right now. We don't need anything more. Now that we took out the old injectors, we stuck in our new injectors, the FICs. These are, what did we run, 1300 cc's?
Yes.
Yeah, we went with 1300 cc's on this one, just so that way we have plenty of fuel. These are FICs, Fuel Injector Clinic injectors. So next, we want to pull out our fuel pump. Out of the trunk here, then. And then we're going to change our fuel pump to a new pump. Here's our new pump. We decided to go with just a standard Walbro. Here's putting our fuel pump back in. See a little bit better from up here. Not an easy task because you need small hands. Now, after we put these back on, we went ahead and with our provided DEI thermal sleeves, we added this to the coolant hoses, so that way it doesn't overheat the coolant hoses when the turbo manifold's right here. Now we're going to take off this sensor, the sensor wire right here, because all this is going to get wrapped in thermal wrap, so that way it doesn't melt onto the header or the exhaust manifold. So we're just going to pull that off and set this aside. We're going to take this, we're going to route the wiring. So next, this is an optional step. What we're going to do is we're going to bypass and take off our VTEC pressure switch because we're using a standalone ECU and we can turn that sensor off, and we're going to replace it with a titanium bolt that we got from rywire.com. So it's a plug that we're just gonna stick right in here because it looks cleaner. This is something you don't have to do, but we're gonna do that. So yeah, we're now going to just stick in our little titanium bolt, make it a little cleaner. Make sure to get the O-ring gasket in there. We replaced the gasket. And then just tighten it down with a wrench. Okay, so 1 hour later, we wrap this whole harness. So part of it we tuck up in here. This is the VTEC pressure switch that we're no longer using because we bypass it with this bolt, and we just kind of tuck it up right here for right now because we don't want to cut wires off and to make things reversible. And then we're gonna plug in our VTEC solenoid and then connect our sensor. And then this is also another part right here. This is the harness loom on the frame rail, and we ended up because it gets so close to the manifold, we end up wrapping this as well. Normally it routes around here, and then we're gonna reroute it so it stays away from the turbo. We reroute it from that side to this side. and then plug it into our steering rack. So pretty much this is just a rerouting of wires, and this is how we like to do it, so that way it just stays away from our turbo. Just like that. And there you go. And then next up we'll be installing the manifold. Okay, now we finally get to put on our manifold. It's been ceramic coated bronze. The reason for ceramic coating is because it reduces the heat of the exhaust gases, and then that way the exhaust gases will exit out faster. That's the theory behind ceramic coating. So as you can see, we hoisted up our engine with the jack underneath, so that way we can have more clearance to install our turbo manifold without scratching it up. See, there's a jack underneath, and you see how it's elevated about a couple inches. Just on the exhaust side, we left the other side the same. So now we have our turbo. There's our ball bearing turbo here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna clock this to the manifold. So we loosen all these bolts right here and here, and we basically mount it in. Go ahead, let's mount it in. And we wanted to loosen the bolts and let it sit in like this. So where the turbo inlet is pointing downwards towards the piping here, towards the intercooler piping. Tighten our bolts. It's a little hard to get to the bottom one, so you definitely want to kind of mock up the turbo first, and then tighten everything down. Next, we want to add in our AN fitting for the oil return. This is at the bottom, so you want to do this before you put it on the turbo on the manifold. Now that that's tight, we're good to go on putting our turbo back on. Looks like we have a good clearance for that. Perfect. I thought we were gonna have to use a swivel. Good, we didn't have to. This one just open-end wrench. The top one's pretty self-explanatory. You just tighten those, and we're good to go. So this is our oil feed line. We're going to be sliding on our DEI thermal wrap. Then we're going to route our turbo feed line into a T-fitting that we had set up underneath the TCT where the oil sending unit is. The hose is tightened down there, and we just tighten it up here. This is obviously a tight spot, but we had to do this with the manifold on so we can clock the fitting in the right position. Now we're going to put on our intake charge pipe. We already went ahead and installed our Turbo Smart blow-off valve. So we just want to connect the piping. Basically, we kind of skipped a couple steps where we just went ahead and just installed all our piping. They're pretty self-explanatory. Clamp on our downpipe. This is the first half of the downpipe. This is the V-band clamp. leave that loose?
Yeah, we leave this loose so then we could adjust it so when we go underneath the car.
Nice. Here is our wastegate. Our dump tube connects to the bottom of the wastegate. Okay, then we leave it loose, turn everything where we want it, and then tighten it up, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, let's go ahead and do that. Where we want it. Yep. Doesn't touch anything.
Not touching down there, not touching over there by the crank.
Cool. Tying up our intercooler. That's all done. This is done. Now we just need to get the downpipe. Oh, gotta reposition this guy a little bit. He's a little crooked. Next, we put in our downpipe to connect to the top part of our downpipe through with the V-band clamp. Didn't get to really film it because it's not that easy. You kind of have to go loop this in above the motor mount, and then to try to do it and not scratch anything is really tough. So we kind of had to just do it first, and then this is the aftermath, what you're going to see. And then we're just tightening up our O2 sensor, and you see how our kit goes straight to the stock catalytic converter location. So there you go. Now we're back in the engine bay, tightening up all our clamps. Pretty much, we're getting on the tail end here. What else is there, Chris? We have our turbo guard that goes on there.
Turbo guard, and we're gonna put our front bumper on.
Oh yeah, front bumper. A lot of times people are gonna have to trim the front bumper for the intercooler, but the 20th anniversary bumper that we have fits perfect. No trimming. Here it is. Here's our turbo guard. Alrighty, got everything tightened up. On goes the bumper. Our oil return line. Oh, I'm sorry. Our oil feed line. Being stupid. Our oil return line's down there. We showed earlier. Kind of see it right at the front timing cover. I love the way this is bronze.
I like it too.
Yeah, it makes it clean. AC, you don't even need an AC relocation kit. We do sell an AC relocation kit, by the way, that hooks around the back here, but and you get rid of these front hard lines. But the point, we left it in this particular job so you can see the turbo kit goes on without any modification to that. We even have our stock heat shield right there to protect our battery and our fuse box, which happens a lot. So now we're just gonna have to retune. We already got our injectors in, our fuel pumps in. That's pretty much it. Yeah, the bumper's on. Just tighten up the side right there on the bumper. Okay. Oh, turbo guard. Or not turbo guard. We have the turbo blanket. That's what we did. We got the turbo blanket. This comes with our kit. Brand new turbo blanket. Now what we do is put the wire underneath this side, right?
Yeah, put it underneath and then we stretch it down. So I just push down on the wire with the pair of needle nose so then we can feed it around. And then once it feeds around, then we can
final dyno numbers. There's our printout right here. We have 497.21 horsepower, 325 torque. Let me put this down here. Air fuel ratio is right here. That's at about 11 AFR. This is pretty much when VTEC is on right there. I think that's where VTEC is. So happy with the results, and we're going to do a driving test and show you how the car drives. Okay, we're all finished, guys. Finally, this car is running. It's tuned. We made 497 horsepower and 325 foot-pounds of torque on 14 psi, which I'm pretty happy with. I'm very happy with, to be honest, because this is on 91 octane, no fuel additives, nothing. So that's pretty good, I think, in my opinion. So here is the finished product. I'm going to shamelessly plug our catch can, our oil catch can, and our lithium ion battery that's the same size as the factory battery. Okay, that one's about 9 pounds versus 27 pounds stock, and it's the exact same size battery as the factory one. So our oil catch can's really unique. We make a fitting with a new oil cap, goes straight into the catch can, and then along with the breather valve going into here, and then we have an oil filter separator that goes in between the PCV valve. So no oil is getting back into the intake from blow by of the motor. And this motor is not a spring chicken. This motor has 168,000 miles on it. This is the original motor on the car. We kind of redid this whole car, champ white. This is kind of our Type R concept. And again, why didn't we do the K20C motor Type R? Because the S2000 F20 2-liter is better, in my opinion. We don't have direct injection problems. We don't have fuel, DI fuel pump problems, and so on and so forth. We just put in bigger injectors and a bigger fuel pump, and we got plenty of fuel at 14 PSI, because I have a Civic Type R, and I had to spend about 20 grand on the car just to get the car to get to about 486 horsepower. You know, the direct injection fuel system cost $3,000 already just to upgrade. This, you just put in fuel, put in injectors and fuel pump, and you're done. You know, so it's cool, I think, to have a Type R motor in here, but it's a downgrade in my personal opinion. The S2000 motor is the 90s golden era, top of the line motor. You cannot beat it. Whoa. Hey, warn me next time, bro.
Sorry. There was just no car in front of me, so.
How'd that feel?
Good. My heart's a little, yeah.
You like that, huh?
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, going back to what I was saying, this is our Type R concept car. It's not finished yet. We have some little red accents in here. We're going to change the carpet to red, and our whole interior is going to be Alcantara. So we're not finished with the interior. We just wanted to get the power stuff done first. So here we go. Speaking of power, let's get it cut away. Got a wheel spin.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
You can hear more of the engine than you can the exhaust.
Nice. Somebody looks pretty happy. I don't know why you're so smiling so much.
It's fun.
Yeah?
It's fun. And we're doing this in Mexico. We're not anywhere near the shop.
What RPM did it boost at?
Like around 4,000.
4,000? Okay. It's not too bad. Nice flyby, Victor. Buzzing the tower like Top Gun.
I was gonna whip it, and I was like, I don't want to do that, and end up facing the wrong way. I was like, nah, never mind.
What, to do a 180?
Yeah.
Hat pussy. This car does it like so easily. So we did the full open throttle impression. What about just driving around impression?
It's totally subdued. Like
full boost at what, 4,000? So
yeah.
Does it start to spool at 3,000 or 3,500?
I would say like 3,500.
Okay. This is the perfect. Whoa! Dude,
damn, you stupid bitch.
Bro, what the hell? What?
See, look, no, the motherfucker
What
went.
Victor is this? This is
What?
not the Victor I know. What the fuck? Whoa, man! This car turned you into a fucking whole nother demon.
It's a fun car to drive.
Oh my god, you're scary, man.
See, you can shift this at 5,000 RPM, no problem. Clutch is nice and soft, barely starts building into boost. It's lovely.
Hey, wonder what?
And then you don't even have to downshift. See, step on the gas.
What kind of gas mileage we can get if we were like really soft on it?
And the S2000 is not known for gas mileage, anyways.
Yeah. Whoa! Oh my god, this picture is insane!
Truck drivers all like, what the fuck?
I want to go home now.
That one did get kind of squirrely.
That was not a clean one, dude.
I was going for theatrics, dude. I was going for theatrics.
Very theatrical.
Yeah.
I guess
I was going very Dukes of Hazzard kind of style, you know?
Okay, I guess that one works.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could do one of those weak ones, but
It's done. Oh my god. Dude, get me out of this car. Mister is a fucking crazy beast. I can't drive with this guy. He's scary as fuck. Dude, I'm thinking this guy is fucking scary. Like the way he drives with this thing.
when I was doing a flyby over there, he's like, oh, you didn't whip it. He called me a pussy, right? So we're going over here. I'm like, okay, I'll do it right now. So we go, whoop, whoop, whoop. The car starts facing this way again. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Stayed in it.
Yeah.
Dude, my hand, I'm holding the handle. Like, I can't hold it still.
Yeah, it's a fun car.
Jesus.
Super fun, dude.
Hey,
I got hit in the eye hard on the freeway, though.
okay, so
With the block
this one
over
or the yellow one?
Nah, this one.
You know,
I just
Turbocharger
like that
doesn't have
sign.
consistent boost.
I just like that one. That's all.
I know, but I told you, dude.
No, I know. But see, I only drove this one here to his house, and then I gunned it just down the street and all that shit. I didn't fucking get on the freeway and fucking, you know what I mean?
But I told you, supercharged over turbocharged.
Yeah.
I'll take turbo all day long.
Yeah, super fun.
I need a gimbal now, dude. My hand keeps shaking. Like, I'm just using my iPhone to film this guy, so that's why I'm like shaking like crazy. My hand's all like.
Victor gave him the scare.
I mean, first, dude, he was like running up on cars right behind him. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
Hey, that's how you drive when we go to lunch, dude.
that is not how I drive. I do not.
I don't know.
I just want to put it through a space. You know, it's sitting most of the time, so it's like, hey, let's show it a good time. But I'm not gonna lie, when I whipped it right there, it was nice. I was like, oh fuck, this is going the opposite way again, and I'm like, no, let's go. Yes.